Salut, ça va? Tu vas bien? Aujourd'hui, on va voir une leçon très importante. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's lesson, we're going to dive into a fascinating part of the French grammar, which is les verbes pronominaux. So, these verbs are all about reflecting the action back into oneself or someone else. So, uh, think about it like a mirror. The action of the verb reflects back into you or into the person doing it. So these verbs are very common in daily French conversation. And today I'm going to explain how they work, give you some examples, and help you understand how to use them correctly. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to use these verbs naturally. So let's get started. Donc, on commence avec une petite définition. Les verbes pronominaux sont des verbes qui s'utilisent avec un pronom réfléchi. So, reflexive verbs, or les verbes pronominaux, are verbs that are used with reflective pronouns. Okay, so we have to integrate these reflective pronouns, the one in blue, into the conjugation. Ce pronom reflète que l'action des verbes est faite par le sujet. So it says here that this pronoun reflects that the action of the verb is done by the subject, which is you in this case. Sur lui-même, when the action is done uh, by him to him, I know that sounds a little bit weird, but bear with me. When there is an action is done to each other, we can use this again. And some verbs are just like that. They don't have another type, just reflective or reflexive. Okay, so this is just a little definition. Let's see an illustration that would help better. So as you can see here, this little man is doing the dishes, right? So he's washing. So the verb I would use here, love it, right? Love it. Now, let's see another. So as you can see here, this little man again, let's say he's taking a shower, right? But let's say he's washing. But what is he washing exactly? He's washing himself. So the action is reflexive. It's about him. He's doing the action, but it's coming back to him. So therefore, the verb I would use is se laver. Se laver. Now we saw in the definition that in order to conjugate them, we have to integrate reflective pronouns. So let's see the conjugation, how it works. Conjugaison au présent de l'indicatif. Let's start with a non-reflective verb. Le verbe laver, one more time. Je lave, tu laves, il est lave, nous lavons, vous lavez, il est lave. So you would use this verb when the action is not done to you, but to something. Like, for example, you're washing the car. Donc, I would say, je lave la voiture, right? Or something like that. Now, let's see the reflexive verb. Le verbe se laver, je me lave, tu te laves, il, elle se lave. Nous nous lavons, vous vous lavez, il, elle se lave. Je répète, je me lave, tu te laves, il, elle se lave, nous nous lavons, vous vous lavez, il, elle se lave. Très bien. Now that you see the difference and how you conjugate them, basically it's the same conjugation. All you have to do is integrate the reflective pronoun. Type de verbe pronominaux. So there are types of reflective verbs, I would say. I would say there are three types of verbs, sorry. Donc, on commence avec un premier type. Le verbe réfléchit. Le verbe réfléchit. L'action est faite par le sujet sur lui-même. So, this type of verbs that is reflective, also called verb réfléchi because it's the action is done by you to you. OK? Donc, on voit des exemples. Je me lève tôt. Je me lève tôt. Il se brosse les cheveux. Il se brosse les cheveux. Il se lave les mains. Il se lave les mains. Tu te maquilles tous les jours. Tu te maquilles tous les jours. So as you can see here, the action is done by the person, but to him, right? It might sound weird in English when you say, I wake myself up, right? But this is how the French people would express waking up. Or, for example, brushing the hair. So if it's your hair that you're brushing, you have to use a verb pronominal, which is in this case, se brosser. So it would be, je me brosse les cheveux, right? So you go with this reflective mindset. The action is reflective, it's about you. Now let's see the second type. Les verbes réciproques. Les verbes réciproques. L'action est faite par plusieurs personnes les unes sur les autres. So basically here what they're saying is the action is reciprocal, doing it to each other, right? In this case again, you can use un verbe pronominal, which is, in this case, verbe réciproque. On voit des exemples. Nous nous aidons pour les devoirs. Nous nous aidons pour les devoirs. Ils se parlent souvent. Ils se parlent souvent. Vous vous voyez tous les week-ends. Vous vous voyez tous les week-ends. Les enfants se battent pour des jouets. Les enfants se battent pour des jouets. So as you can see here, because the action is done to each other, there is a reciprocal action, you would use the verb pronominal again. Now let's see the third type. Les verbes essentiellement pronominaux. Verbes essentiellement pronominaux. Il n'existe que à la forme pronominale. Il n'existe que à la forme pronominale. In other words, these type of verbs are just reflective by nature. There doesn't exist another type, the normal type of it, right? So let's see an example for better understanding. Il s'enfuit à toute vitesse. Il s'enfuit à toute vitesse. Il se souvient de son voyage en France. Il se souvient de son voyage en France. Nous nous moquons de la situation. Nous nous moquons de la situation. Je m'absente de la réunion. Je m'absente de la réunion. So these type of verbs here that we saw only exist in this form. So you would never use them in another form, meaning without reflective form. Okay, now that we're done with the type of verbs, reflexive verbs or les verbes pronominaux, la négation avec les verbes pronominaux. So, on place le avant le pronom réfléchi et pas après le verbe. In other words, sujet, ne, pronom réfléchi, verbe et pas. So basically, when we negate reflexive verbs in French, we use the same negation structure as for other verbs, right? We use ne pas. But the reflexive pronoun stays in its usual position, right before the verb. So it doesn't like come off before, let's say, ne in this case. On voit des exemples. Je ne me lève pas tôt le dimanche. Je ne me lève pas tôt le dimanche. Il ne se souvient pas de la date. Il ne se souvient pas de la date. Nous ne parlons pas souvent. Nous ne parlons pas souvent. Il ne s'amuse pas à la fête. Il ne s'amuse pas à la fête. Très bien. So as you can see, ne pas is not only just around the verb, but also around, let's say, pronom réfléchi. Because at the end, you need to see le pronom réfléchi or the reflexive pronoun me, te, nous, vous, ce as well. You need to see it as a part that is integrated with the verb. It doesn't leave the verb, so it's like integrated with it. You have to use it together. You cannot use them separately. Therefore, you cannot separate them with when you negate a sentence. Now, let's see les verbes pronominaux les plus fréquents. Let's see the verbs or the reflexive verbs, the most common ones. So I prepared a little list. In case I forgot something, you can drop it in the comments. I'm sure there are many, many others that I didn't show, but I kind of feel like you would leave it there in the comments. All right? On a le verbe se lever, se lever, se laver, se laver, s'habiller, s'habiller, s'amuser, s'amuser, se souvenir, se souvenir, se reposer, se reposer, se marier, se marier, s'inquiéter, s'inquiéter, se sentir, se sentir, se tromper, se tromper, se réveiller, se réveiller, se coucher, se coucher, se brosser, se brosser, se préparer, se préparer, se dépêcher, se dépêcher, s'appeler, s'appeler, se promener, se promener, se détendre, se détendre, se fâcher, se fâcher, se tromper, se tromper. So that was like about 20 verbs. Uh, and yeah, if I forgot something, you can drop it in the comments. And that was it for today. That brings us to the end of today's lesson, reflexive verbs. I hope you found it very helpful and that you're feeling more confident using les verbes pronominaux in French. Remember, these verbs are all about reflecting the action back onto oneself or someone else. So practice with someone daily, like getting dressed, you could say s'habiller, or brushing your teeth, se brosser les dents, right? So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more French lessons that are tend to be simplified and easy. Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée. À la prochaine fois.